Okay, welcome back to another update. I spent this week working on various movement related stuff, a little bit on swimming, climbing, ladders, and I also added some sound effects to our glider. There's a little bit of wind noise now when we're moving around, and some sound effects when we start and stop gliding. I think the sound effects definitely help. If you remember last week's video, all I had to do was add some sound effects to the Rev Notify. So here we play a sound when we start gliding, and then we spawn a sound that's attached to our player's mesh for the wind noise, and that follows us around. We just store that sound in this glider audio variable here, so we can kill it when we stop gliding. And then when we do stop gliding, we just play a sound effect for that here. And then we stop the wind noise audio and we just destroy that. So yeah, I think that's starting to look and sound pretty good. Another feature I spent some time on this week was ladders. And this was definitely a lot trickier than gliding, particularly when I had to get it working in multiplayer. So I'll just show you the character doing some climbing. We can grab onto the ladder and move up. And then when we get to the top, we can dismount. I spent a lot of time trying to get the animations to blend in nicely when you get on and off the ladder. It's not perfect yet, but I think it's looking pretty good. I also added the ability to jump off the ladder. And I also spent a lot of time making sure that the hands and feet line up with the bars as much as possible. The position of the feet is mostly driven by the animation, but I do use sockets to help the hands get to the right spot. We can also go back down the ladder and then get off nicely at the bottom. And then the same sort of thing, just blending the animation in when you get on. I also added some functionality so we can build the ladders. They can be crafted like anything else. When placing it, you can use the mouse wheel to raise or lower the height of the ladder. So hopefully wherever you're trying to get to, you'll be able to build a ladder for it. At the moment, the height limit is about twice what you can see here. But once you place them, they're just like the other ladders we've seen before. And finally, I've also got them working in multiplayer. So in this scene, the armored character is the host, and the character wearing the leaf armor is the client. And yeah, that's looking pretty good at the moment. I won't go through a full tutorial for the ladders, but I can give you a general idea of how I did it. Basically, I've got a player actor and a ladder actor. Our characters can interact with items in the world through a interface. The ladder actor is essentially just static meshes stacked on top of each other with collision around them. And anytime the character collides with that collision, that's when we can interact with it. When we do interact with it, it's through an interface, which basically calls this function here. This function does a whole lot of things, but what's relevant is that it calls a interface to the character to initiate the climbing logic. Now when the character is climbing, we keep a reference to the ladder in that current ladder variable. If it is a new ladder we want to climb, we'll just do a quick check to see if we can fit on it. So that's just making sure there's not another player or character above you. And if not, then that's when we'll set climbing. So that happens on the server. Again, just a quick check on the server to make sure that there's room. And if there is, then we set the current ladder on the character to the ladder that we were trying to interact with. Now that current ladder variable getting set is what triggers climbing to happen. So if we do have a ladder, we'll set is climbing ladder to true. If we didn't, we'd say is climbing ladder false. If we were climbing a ladder, we will sheath our weapon if we've got one out. That just prevents it messing with the animations, and then we'll start the climb onto the ladder animation. At that point we'll just get the ladder and we'll find out the top of the ladder in world space, the bottom of the ladder, and we just use those two I guess vectors to help with the animations to get off the ladder at the top or the bottom. But at this point the animation to get onto the ladder would have played, and our character will be ready to move up or down. To do that, I just intercept the input action for moving. So if we're not climbing a ladder, we'd usually just go along this normal movement path, which has all of the existing stuff out of the motion matching project. But if we are climbing a ladder, then we'll move into the climb ladder input instead. Now that function just does different things depending on whether you've basically pushing the forward key or the backwards key. If you're pushing forwards, which kind of indicates you want to go up, then we'll basically just check if you're near the top of the ladder, and if you are, that's when we'll play the animation to exit the ladder. Otherwise, if you're not quite at the top yet, then we'll just check if there's room for you to keep moving up the ladder, and if there is, we'll play the animation to go up. Otherwise, if the ladder's blocked, we'll play another animation which kind of just waves their hands to indicate that they can't really move in that direction. Otherwise, if you're moving down, then we'll just check if you're near the bottom, and if you are, that's when we'll play the animation to exit at the bottom of the ladder. Otherwise, once again, we'll just make sure there's room for you to keep moving in the downward direction. If there's not, we'll play an animation to indicate that you're blocked, otherwise we'll move down. I think ladders was probably the hardest thing I've had to implement in the game so far. And when I initially got them working, it was single player only, and to be honest, when I tried to use them in multiplayer, just everything fell apart. And they're definitely not final now, like there's still a few bugs and quirks that I need to sort out, but I'm glad I got the basic sort of functionality working. Other than that, I've also been trying to get all of these things to work together. So not only climbing ladders, but climbing anything else in the world. You know, even climbing from gliding, like this. Just to try and make sort of getting around in the world, I guess, as fun as possible. Or at least give you as many options to do it as I can. But yeah, I'll wrap this one up here. As always, thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.